Welcome to Scoop Boat Order. It is time to get ready to roll for Western Kentucky. We're going to do our bold predictions. We're going to talk a little bit about how we think the game's going to go, how much the team's going to improve. It's their home game in the shoe. Only 6 shots this year, so something to talk about a little bit. Who's going to stand out? Who needs to step up? We're going to go through all of that today. But as always, we're very thankful and grateful for you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. As usual, you guys are the best. So if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe and also click that little alert bell. That little alert bell lets us know or lets you know when we're going live. And you guys jump in here. As always, we have Sue, Brass Tacks, all of our regulars are in here. And also shout out where you guys are from in the comments. Portsmouth, Ohio is coming strong. Youngstown, Ohio was heavy yesterday. Canton, Massillon, Columbus, Los Angeles, Manhattan Beach, Naples, Fort Myers. I've seen it all. Appreciate you guys as always. I like seeing the global people as well. So shout out all you guys. Shout out where you guys are from. It's always huge to us. But we're right into it with my good friend at Nevada Buck. Nevada, how are you tonight?
Doing great, man. It's a great way to kick off the weekend. Got a little high school football tonight later on the West Coast. Got a little Virginia-Maryland game. We got games tomorrow. Then I like the 1 o'clock afternoon game. We got some nice evening games. And then a full Sunday of NFL football. So it's like my whole weekend's already planned out, and I'm ready to get after it. So, yeah, let's go.
I totally agree. Like, I love it's funny, the college game day. This might be the latest college game day start ever. Colorado versus Colorado State kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern time. That is the game day game. Obviously, college game day goes to what they presume is the biggest game of the week. And I don't know if I've ever seen a 10 p.m. kick East Coast, but hey, I'm here for it. That's the thing I love about college football is that, if you're a diehard, games kick off at noon, and there are games that are going off at 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. The Hawaii game, I go off at midnight, like a little dodgy stream action you got to get onto. So I love college football, love high school football. I love football, period. Because again, I think that it's just one of those uniting things. Again, we always go back and forth. And I'd love your comments, if you could, on this. How many of you guys go to high school football games on a Friday? I mean, I know some people, they've got kids playing. They're deep with their booster clubs or whatever. But how many of you guys go to high school games? Should we move the stream up a little bit from 7:30? This is 8:10. We went off today. To 5, so you guys can check us out before that goes down. But Nevada, with the amount of national high school football games that are on ESPN, Glenville, Ted Ginn's school, Troy Smith's school, is playing IMG tonight. That's a huge game. What does national high school football do for you? Again, like IMG Academy, we obviously Cornell Tate went there. We've had a ton of kids come from there. What does it mean when you see these national matchups with some guys that are potential Buckeye recruits? Because a lot of these guys, JJ Smith, they play at big time programs. I remember watching Nicky Bosa and Joey Bosa in 2012 when we were, I think it was literally our first game ever at Ohio State. We're getting ready to play our first matchup against the Miami Redhawks, and Aquinas was on ESPN. What does it mean when these massive networks pick up these big time cross-sectional rivalries where you'll have a big-time school like Aquinas playing Don Bosco or some of the big schools across the country? Like, what does that mean for you on your Friday? How much does it make you adjust your schedule? I know that you have people in high school, children in high school, but it's different when you see these big-time matchups. Like, what does that do for you?
Well, it's interesting. Look, as an Ohio State fan, we got to get ready for West Coast games because we're going to have Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA joining soon. So the 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. kickoff, that could be a reality. The
That's
Friday
real.
night game could be a reality. But I look at with ESPN. Some of ESPN's best programming right now is Little League baseball. They used to just do the Little League World Series championship game. Now they do all the games. Then now they started to do the regionals. I thought that a great piece of programming would be 7-on-7 football. I think 7-on-7 football would be a great piece of program because you've got high energy, you've got music, You've got the players. You've got all the. I mean, if you marketed it well with all the big time players out there with South Florida Express, I think. Look, if Little League baseball can get the numbers that it's getting, why couldn't
Yes.
7-on-7? Why could premier high school games get it? So when I hear about high school games being on, boy, I just think that's the future. I think that's the way it's going to be because I look all this stuff is just programming, and some of the greatest games I've ever been to have been high school football games and some of the most memorable. So I think it's just a natural extension of what's going on.
Well, I think the biggest thing with 7-on-7 is that you're watching the positions that people care about, which is skill, which is quarterback, receiver, and they're playing against the next top line 5-star quarterbacks. They're playing against the Jalen Ramseys and those big time guys. And I'm telling you, 7-on-7 football, I experienced it. I went down to Miami, I went down to Naples, I watched South Florida Express versus the Immortals and some of these big time schools, and it's like those guys are out there just butt naked. There's no zone defense. There's no pass rush. It's literally like, you find out who really can cover and who can run routes in 7-on-7 because like there's no hiding. Like, I mean, it's if you're a corner and you got to play JJ Smith head up, man to man, no zone, no blitz, no zero coverage, no bringing the house, like you got to stick with that guy. And I mean, I'm telling you, I think it's great television. I think that you're right on the money because when these kids are being recruited by Bama and Georgia and Florida State and Florida and Ohio State and Michigan or whatever, like I'd watch it in the middle of the summer when there's nothing else on other than baseball, like a game number 92 out of 162 in the baseball schedule. Like I'd rather watch 7-on-7 because when you watch like South Florida Express play like the Immortals or like those are the two giants of 7-on-7, you're going to see 30 Division I guys. You're going to see a quarterback that's probably going to Georgia or Bama or Ohio State, throwing to receivers. They're going to Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, Clemson. And that's what's appealing about it. It's like, people are obsessed with that. And again, when there's a void in football content, I think that's where there's a real opportunity to fill in. That's why you see leagues like the XFL and USFL and all these other dumb leagues pop up. But nobody wants to watch watered down, washed up dudes play football. But they do want to watch guys like JJ Smith and Brandon Ennis and Colonel Tate play 7-on-7 because, again, they're going to Ohio State. They're getting recruited by Bama. They're visiting Bama. They're visiting Florida State. So I agree with you. Malachi Tony, South Florida Express kid, he's a freshman. He's a sophomore now, like committed to Miami, but it's a soft commitment. I mean, he's a Florida kid. So, I love watching those kids and seeing how they compete. Getting into the game tomorrow, Western Kentucky, 4 o'clock start. What are your thoughts going into this game? What do we need to get done? Who needs to play well? Who needs to get better? What do you want to get out of this game as we march towards Notre Dame?
Well, look, on offense, the game's all about the offensive line. I mean, this game is absolutely a call out to Justin Fry. It's a call out to the players. The players have been challenged. I think they're going to respond tremendously, but we're all going to see. I mean, Western Kentucky is a team that you should be able to line up and be able to push them around. As long as you're not just completely predictable by down, distance, and formation, because I don't care who you are. If you're running into 8-man, 9-man boxes against guys that are on scholarship, just like the guys from Western Kentucky are, nobody can move those guys. So be clever about how you do it. But if they do it right, this game on offense should all be about the offensive line. It should be a big rushing game for Ohio State. And defensively, look, we're going to find out how good these cornerbacks and safeties are in coverage because Western Kentucky throws the ball. They'll probably throw it 40, 45 times. They get the ball out quickly. They're very good in pass protection. So, look, they know how to do it. They know how to operate the passing game at a high level. And we're going to find out about both things. So, as an Ohio State fan, this is such a treat to have a game like this where you're really going to find out answers about two key position groups going into Notre Dame. Look, we're going to find out if we're taking a step forward. The team's been challenged. Ryan Day has put the hammer down. And this is an emphasis game. This isn't like a go all out game, but it's definitely an emphasis game for Ohio State. And we're going to see how well these kids respond to Ryan Day. I think they're going to respond great, and I think it's going to be a great effort.
I totally agree. I think that this is a game where they've been called out. They weren't great against Youngstown State. I think the offensive line has to be better, be more physical. I think this is a real opportunity for Jim Knowles to shine, frankly. I think that people are worried about Western Kentucky's passing game. NFL quarterback, NFL skill guys. Can we get it done? I think we can. I think that guys like Steele Chambers and Tommy Eichenberg are going to have huge games. Again, we're going to go into the film room real quick because, again, I appreciate all your feedback on these shows. We love going into the film room, breaking some of the stuff down. Something that we showed a lot of in the first couple of games is this look right here where you've got it's basically 6 up. You've got your safety choked over the tight end. But this is something that Steele Chambers has been absolutely fantastic at with Tommy Eichenberg. They basically, they've been dropping the ends, and the ends are both dropping here. You can see how they don't really rush. They take a step, they both drop. It's a running play, which isn't normal. Normally, naturally, this is like a passing down. But we're inserting the safety here to kind of hit the open gap. But Tommy and Steele are either assigned to rush the A gaps or they're assigned to run a pick play where, it'll be like Tommy's 1, Steele's 2, whoever, like whatever, on some of these looks. Again, Jim Knowles is smart because he mixes these looks up. Some of these looks, if the center is turning this way, Tommy's the pick guy, and then Steele's the guy who's going for the pressure. And then, there's other looks where if this guy goes to Steele's side, then he's the pick guy and he grabs the center, and Tommy's here. But again, I think that this is a run blitz. This is a safety blitz. You're bringing Lathan right up the gut. But I love this kind of stuff. It's very difficult to defend. Again, they have nobody to block Lathan. They're guessing. They're being aggressive. And again, I love aggressive defense. So people might be salty. They might be like, oh, we might give up a whatever. But I think when you run that, you have a lot of confidence in your guys in the back end, and Denzel and Davison and Jordan Hancock out in coverage. And Steele and Tommy have this unnatural chemistry where they're really good running this pick play. I've broken it down. I've been an offensive lineman. I've been an offensive line coach at Ohio State. And I know what's very difficult to defend against. And what these guys are doing right now, what Jim Knowles is doing in the middle of that deal where they're bringing 4 guys, and it usually ends up being Mike Hall, Caden Curry as D tackle, and then they bring Tommy and Steele in the middle. It's really hard to go against. And, people, they're salty at JT, they're salty at Jack, but they're the guys that are kind of the pawns in the game where they end up taking 2 steps and trying to draw the tackles out to them, and then they end up dropping into coverage. So, if those tackles try to actually pass that versus the defensive ends, it's hard to pass it all off. And they've got a lot of pressure. Again, I think that Steele and Tommy combined for 3 sacks this game. That's my bold prediction. But it's really an effective way to go about your business. I think that these guys they know what they're doing. They know they're going to see the spread stuff down the road. Again, Tommy and Steele are playing at such a high level, and they have such great chemistry. They're roommates. They're guys that really know each other, that they can get stuff done that normal guys can't. A normal Will and Mike can't get done what they're doing. So I'm predicting 3 sacks for our 2 inside linebackers combined. What ball predictions do you have, Nevada?
Well, first of all, let me just kind of emphasize that point about the linebackers, because linebacker blitzing and linebacker pressure, as I should say, because I think when people think blitzing, they think bringing more than 4 guys. And a lot of times we're not bringing more than 4. A lot of times we're dropping guys and we're just rushing a different 4. But not everybody's good at it. It involves timing. It involves, just an uncanny knack to be able to know how to engage blockers, how to run your twists and your stunts and rub off guys and things like that. And like you said, Tommy and Steele have that chemistry that comes from having been together, from being best friends, from being roommates, from being guys that can almost finish each other's sentences for each other. That's what makes this so special, and that's what makes their pressure packages so unique and so interesting for Ohio State, because I've seen linebackers at Ohio State that just weren't good at the blitzing thing, and that's that is so true with guys. Some guys are good at it, some guys aren't. They're good at it, so I don't want to see Knowles go away from it. Now, what are my bold predictions? I'm telling you, 5 sacks, 300 yards rushing, and I'm willing to stand on both sides of that. I think we're going to have a big day. I think we're going to have several long runs. I think, any of the running backs can do it. You guys know what a big fan of Trey Henderson than I am, just because he's got blinding breakaway speed. But I think all the backs are going to feast tomorrow. And I think it's going to be a big game on the ground. And like I said, I can't wait to see it. But 300 yards rushing, 5 sacks. That's my bold prediction. And keep in mind, Western Kentucky only gave up 14 sacks last year, so 5 would be by far the biggest number they've given up in a long time. Maybe crazy, but we'll find out. They're going to bring the pressure tomorrow. We'll see how they hold up.
What are your thoughts on Tony Alfred's running back rotation? Because again, Trey had single digit carries last week, very productive, obviously over 10 yards a carry. But what are your thoughts on the rotation? Because I think the rotation is terrible. I think that Trey needs 20 touches. Again, and I'm a huge NFL fan. I had the number one pick in my fantasy draft. I took Christian McCaffrey. And sure as can be, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, from the down below, gave him like 26 carries week one, including carries when they were up like 35-7 or whatever they're beating the Steelers by. Do you think that Trey deserves a real workload instead of 5 carries and 3 catches? Just in your opinion, because I think Trey, his biggest deficit right now is the fact that they rotate. They rotate Mayan. They rotate Chip. Dallin Hayden, who was really good against Maryland last year, doesn't even play. Does that hinder what we're doing? Does it hinder us long term? Does it hinder Trey, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you've got to feed your bell cow backs, and like they just got to decide who it is. I mean, if there's things about Trey's game that they don't like and they think that Chip's better or Mayan's better or whatever, then give him the 25 carries. But for me, I would rather give 25 carries to one back than split it up 10-10-5 or 8-8-8 or whatever it is. Because I just think that it takes everybody out of rhythm when they do that. I think it even hurts the blockers. I think the blockers, as an old offensive lineman, that you kind of understand the rhythm of the running backs behind you and what they like and how you can set up blocks and how they hit the holes and things like that. And it's all about timing. And I think when the timing's even just a little bit, a millisecond different, it affects everything. So, no, I would give Trey's had more than 20 touches only 4 times in his career at Ohio State. I'd give him more than 20 tomorrow and watch him rack up the big numbers.
I'm telling you, I think coaches are idiots sometimes, stupid. I'm not going to pull any punches. Again, we're very fair on this podcast. I appreciate Renda. I appreciate Tony Alford. But, when you have a bell cow and he's only here for 3 years, like Trey's gone. I mean, after the Michigan game or the bowl game, whatever, he's gone. So, wear the tread off the tires. Again, it's like when I watched the Philadelphia Eagles week one, they feed Kenneth Gainwell and then they put in Boston Scott and then they give DeAndre Swift like 1 carry. And then all of a sudden, Kenneth Gainwell's hurt. Boston Scott gets a concussion. And then they feature DeAndre Swift and he gets like 170 yards rushing because he has more talent in his big toe than those other guys have in their entire bodies. So, again, I think coaches are stupid sometimes when they do these rotations. Again, God bless Tony Alford, great guy, whatever. But we played Master Teague over Trey Sermon, Master Teague over Trey Henderson. And again, this is not trying to whip him, but I'm like, dude, like, you got to feed the horses. You got to feed the guys that are the 5-star guys, the guys that are legitimate, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley type talents, and leave the undrafted guys on the bench. Like, let them watch, let them run down on kickoff and punt and whatever. But, these rotations have just been comically bad. And that's on the coaching staff. I think Trey Henderson needs 15 touches, minimum 20 touches, 15 carries, 5 receptions, targets, whatever you're going to call it, and call it a day. Even if you only have 60 plays and we're going to cry about how many plays we have, I'm like, Marvin gets 10, Emeka gets 10, Trey gets 20, and then figure out the other 20, Cade, Carnell Tate, Julian Fleming, whoever. It's really not that hard, but it has been surprising. So, D Sonny coming in with the super chat. Appreciate you, brother. When they say someone is the QB of the defense, can you talk about the mentality they can call out and control the game? Any past players come to mind? Nevada, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, generally when you're talking about the quarterback for the defense, you're talking about a middle linebacker or someone who makes the defensive calls. And, a lot of times people don't really understand how important that is in terms of those guys getting everybody lined up, making sure everybody knows the formations. When plays or defenses are being called in for the sideline, he's the guy that's communicating to everybody on the team. The great ones, the AJ Hawks, I mean, I could go back to the Randy Gratishars and the other, the Tom
Laurinaitis.
Cousin, Laurinaitis. I mean, some of those guys just, it's kind of like the catcher on baseball. Catchers always make the best managers, where middle linebackers make great coaches because they have to be cerebral. They can't, you can't be a dumb middle linebacker. You have to be a
Yeah.
guy that knows everybody else's responsibilities, where everybody else has got to be, what everybody else has got to do, and they're the one responsible for getting everybody lined up and making sure they're on the right spots. And it's a huge responsibility, and that's why you want to have a veteran guy like Tommy Eichenberg, a guy that's been around. Him coming back this year was absolutely huge for the defense, and he's the guy that takes that responsibility, owns it, and he'll have him ready tomorrow.
I agree. I think that I played with two of the greatest quarterbacks on defense ever, with James Laurinaitis, AJ Hawk. I think in '05, probably the best defense we've had in a long time. And we had Dante Whitner was a quarterback in the back end. But AJ was a guy, and the fun thing is, like, he had Schlegs and Bobby, who were both very sharp guys, very smart guys. But AJ was the straw that stirred the drink. AJ was the guy that everybody looked to. AJ was the guy that he didn't say 7 words during the week, but he always graded out 93%, 94%, dominating player, incredible effort, just an absolute animal. But he's the guy everybody looked to, and he was the guy that get everybody lined up. He knew everything, every call. He was the captain of a Super Bowl team in the Packers. So again, I think that, you have certain guys like that. And, like when you have guys like him and James Laurinaitis in 06, 07, dominating guy, ultra productive, but also a great leader, a guy that everybody looked to, was captain as a junior. Before that was fashionable. So you had a really good crew. And I think that this year, Tommy Eichenberg's that guy. Tommy and Steele are two guys that really know the defense. They're in Jim Knowles' hip pocket. They know James Laurinaitis. Again, they've got this great chemistry between Tommy, Steele, James Laurinaitis, Jim Knowles, where they're all aligned. They have this great chemistry, and they want everything to be right. So they get everybody lined up. They get everything fixed. Anytime teams try to do something fancy or strange, those guys can diagnose it and get everybody in the right spot. So again, that is something that I never take for granted, because I think guys that are experienced and really know the game are huge assets. So I'm going to show one more snap. We'll get out of here. This is what I expect tomorrow. Big time out of our defense. Again, this is a look with Steele Chambers, Tommy Eichenberg. This is one of my favorite things where we're doing this sim pressure where we bring 4 guys. Again, we give the look that we're bringing 6. So when you're the O-line, you're projecting that you've got 6 guys coming. You got to treat it like it's cover 0. Get these guys doing something, maybe a little stunt, whatever. And then all of a sudden the ends drop out. And again, I think that come tomorrow, the ends are going to bring it. It's going to be full cover 0. This is just a look of cover 0 where you've got the guys manned up across the board. You got your corners out on the edge, manned up across the board. And, when you run this, again, when this tack or when the center sets to the left, when they call Liz or whatever they want to call their left side slide protection call, when he works left like this, he's projecting that Tom's going to come here. And the thing that Jim Knowles is a genius about with the sim pressure is that these guys know it. So if you work over to Tommy, Steele becomes the penetrator, the guy that goes and disrupts this guy, and then Tommy wraps, and he's the guy who's going to go get the sack. But here, Steele, he actually gets off the center because the center doesn't pick him up. So you have this massive pressure. Again, a forced throw, a hurried throw, with only 4 guys rushing, which again, this is fantastic work by Jim Knowles, fantastic by Tommy and Steele. But that's what I've been an offensive lineman, been an offensive line coach. And when I watch that, I'm like, wow, that is really hard to go against. And that's 10,000 reps in the offseason of how to switch that off and make it work and leave it back in or whatever. So really excited to see how much of that we do tomorrow. Nevada, any final thoughts as we march towards Western Kentucky?
No, just it's going to be fun watching the pressure. It's going to be fun watching them. You know, how many times do they actually bring it versus how many times do they drop out of it, and what they do. Defense is all about varying your looks and not let the offense kind of get settled into a rhythm about what you're doing and disguising what you're doing. I mean, one of the big complaints used to be about Kerry Combs was there was no disguise. People would line up and know
No,
exactly what we were running.
no.
Now with Jim Knowles, it's a grab bag of things, and I like the fact that we're showing a lot of different looks, and I think tomorrow you're going to see even more. So keep an eye on the defensive lines, watch the games they're playing there, and then watch the fun begin. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Super excited about it. Thank you so much. If you guys don't know bucketscoop.com, what are you doing? You guys got to join our site. We have a huge game thread already popping off. It's like a tailgate. It's like a pregame, a postgame. It's amazing. So jump on to buckeyescoop.com, the #1 website for Ohio State football and the best companion for football season. So we appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys tuning in on Friday night as you guys are heading to high school games, getting home from high school games, whatever it may be. We appreciate you. So with that being said, as always, thank you so much, Scoop family. Thank you, Buckeye Nation. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Appreciate that every single time. Talk to you guys tomorrow. This would be Western Kentucky. Go Bucks.